A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been, no more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear. We had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
Would you like it back?
what do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like it back?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, fellow Americans. It's Thursday, January 28th. Welcome to the program, The Bill Press Show. We are here with you all over this great country of ours on the radio and on television right here on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation and send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The big story of the day, of course, continues to be the war between Donald Trump. Not between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or anybody else, the war between Donald Trump and Fox News. He still insists he will not appear in tonight's debate because Megyn Kelly's going to be on stage. He's already put out the plans for his alternative event at Drake University to raise money for the Wounded Warriors. And Ted Cruz is saying he's just a crybaby. But it does look like Donald Trump is winning this war, and Fox News is going to have a pretty ho-hum debate without Donald Trump. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are back and forth over an unsanctioned debate that by the Democratic National Committee that NBC had called for next week, February 4. Bernie says he's not going to show unless the DNC sanctions it and unless the DNC also agrees to 3 more debates. So whether there'll be that debate next week on the Democratic side or not, we don't know. But Bernie was at the White House yesterday meeting with President Obama, and they both had nice things to say about each other. So much to talk about. Again, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Off we go.
This is the Bill Press Show.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like Jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root. A skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them. And I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds, on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations, and forgive those who have tried to kill us, as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now, and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's the War of the Titans. Donald Trump versus Fox News. Hello, everybody. Yep, the battle continues. Never seen anything like this. We knew Donald Trump didn't like the media, but now he's taken on the Republicans' brand. The Republican brand, Fox News. Who's winning? It's going to be a lot of the conversation today here on the Bill Press Show. So good to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us. You have been keeping track, so it's Thursday, January 28th. Rolling into this new week, almost out of it, and with lots to talk about, so that's why we're glad to see you here on the radio. We're here with you on your local progressive talk radio station and those two great radio apps, TuneIn or iHeartRadio. Take them with you so you can take us with you on your electronic device on the radio wherever you travel. And we're here with you on Free Speech TV, of course, worldwide on your electronic device on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. It is so much fun. Now we got the debate about the debates going on actually in both parties with Donald Trump versus Fox News, and it looks like he's going to live up to his promise, threat or declaration not to be there tonight. And now we have a little debate on the Democratic side, too, whether the DNC will sanction a debate that NBC and the union leader want to hold among the three Democratic candidates in Manchester, New Hampshire, next Thursday, the 4th, whenever that is, Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
And but the DNC has not indicated that they would, and without that, it looks like neither Hillary nor Bernie will get there. We'll get into that as well. Tough keeping track of all the back and forth on the debates. Peter Rockburn and Jamie Benson helping us do that, team leaders here.
Hey, Bill.
Hello.
Good morning. Here we are on Thursday.
Yes, and Ray Rogers. You take a good look. May look a little older today because she had a big birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Ray. Nice to have you here. She even worked on her birthday yesterday. How about that?
Yeah, man.
What a sacrifice.
That's a pretty big sacrifice.
Yeah. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer here, who just looks younger and younger every day, right?
Sip's got a birthday coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big one?
Well, I don't know how big it is.
Is it a big 5-0? Is it?
No. Oh, no. Man, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
You still on the air?
I don't know. Oh, the lights just went out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, those covers went back on the cameras. Yeah, well, one thing I'll tell you, Fox doesn't give up easy, right? They may be in this big debate. They may be poised to lose a lot of money, but they're not taking it lying down. In fact, they're trying to give this debate tonight as much hype as they can with a little help from Jimmy Fallon and a fake Fox News commercial.
Thursday night, it's the Fox News Republican debate. Sure, Donald Trump won't be there, but that doesn't mean this debate won't blow your foxing mind. Because we still got a Bush that won't be tamed.
We balanced every budget.
And wake up, mother truckers, because Ben Carson's about to open your head and drop a sponge in it.
The value of personal responsibility, hard work,
creativity.
Plus the triple-decker disaster! Cruz, Kasich, Christie, and Rand Paul. The Fox News Republican debate! We are totally not freaking out right now!
Pretty good.
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting. They've got Jeb Bush.
Oh, man. Talk about exciting and inspiring.
Ben Carson. Rand Paul.
Yeah, man.
And Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee said he'll take Donald Trump's podium gladly. He'll be willing to do that, make that sacrifice.
Did you ever see the movie Idiocracy? There's a movie called Idiocracy.
Idiocracy is what we're living right now.
I'm telling you, it is a sleeper movie, but it's about the idea that just dumb people are the only ones that continue to procreate as we go farther and farther into the future. So, 500 years, 1,000 years in the future, we're all just crazy, stupid idiots. And the only thing that's different about the future, or the only thing that's about the same as the future, is there's still the Fox News channel. And that sounds like a promo for an Idiocracy version of Fox News.
Well, that's where we are today. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll find out we'll at least discuss who's winning, who's losing this battle of the Titans. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Did you hear we got some snow? Yeah, we got a little snow over the past weekend, yeah?
You can have it now, man.
Yeah, well, we're not the only ones, right? So New York, Boston, D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, all of them got a lot of snow this past weekend, but only one of those cities broke a record for watching porn online. Pornhub, the website that tracks what people are watching, how much they're watching, not personally, but they do kind of watch the habits. Turns out Washington, D.C. watched the most pornography, streamed the most pornography during the blizzard than any other city. So
now, I can't believe that because Congress was out of town.
That's right. That's a good point. Even without Congress in town, we still won. So, yeah, we saw porn search spiked 23% higher than it usually is. From Washington, D.C. You remember about 7-8 years ago, Shepard Fairey, the Obey artist, put out the big Obama Hope poster, right? This was the sort of thing that the campaign embraced. Well, yesterday, Shepard Fairey, the man behind Obey Giant, put out a statement, said, I'm supporting Bernie Sanders for president, and he put out a new poster for a big show that's going to be happening at the Ace Hotel in Los Angeles Friday, February 5th. It's going to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers and DJ Z-Trip. They're both going to be performing to support Bernie Sanders, and Shepard Fairey created the poster. We will tweet out a picture of the poster. It's a cool-looking poster.
Is it like Hope and Change?
It's a lot like that, although he didn't steal any images this time. But it's a cool poster. We'll tweet it out at BP Show so you can take a look.
That's it. Bernie's got it.
Yeah, right?
That's all he needed.
Shepard Fairey has the magic touch. And we know that the Carolina Panthers are headed to face the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, not this weekend, but the weekend after that. This is a very cool story about the owner of the Panthers, a man by the name of Jerry Richardson. He believes that the success of the Panthers was a group effort, and he means, when he says group, he means everybody. He is taking every employee of the Carolina Panthers organization to the Super Bowl, from interns on up. He is footing the bill. He is going to be bringing the team.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so he is going to be bringing everybody to the Super Bowl. He's going to be paying for airfare, hotel rooms, going to get them all set up with tickets. It's going to be a whole big thing. And he says, every member of the organization played a role in getting the team to the Super Bowl.
That's great. Where's the game again?
San Francisco.
That's right, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Fun time.
Weekend in San Francisco. That'd be great. Right. So we talked a little bit about it yesterday because it had just happened, and now it's been 24 hours, and everybody, including us yesterday, said that maybe Donald Trump would back down, that this was just a publicity stunt that he and Roger Ailes had cooked up. It's not looking that way. In fact, Jeb Bush bet. Now, let's put it this way. Jeb Bush is no Mitt Romney.
Well,
in many ways.
Right.
But he bet $20. Not 10,000.
10,000?
No, he bet $20 that Donald Trump would end up showing up. Anyway, I think Jeb may lose that bet, and we may lose our bet yesterday too. although we didn't make any monetary bet.
No.
Donald Trump has already announced the plans for his alternative event or competing event tonight, which will probably be covered by the networks as well, to raise money for the wounded warriors. That's what he's been talking about. And now the focus seems to have turned from Donald Trump in a certain sense to Fox News and against Fox News. Rush Limbaugh coming out yesterday saying Donald Trump did absolutely the right thing. Fox News wasn't treating him fairly, and Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. And it's also evolved from blaming Megyn Kelly, right? Or she's the problem, to blaming Roger Ailes himself because of this tweet. Not a tweet, an email or a statement that Fox News put out, the organization put out, and Donald Trump says, that was it. That's what really said, no, if they're going to treat me that way, again, not Megyn Kelly, but Fox News, I'm not going to show up at their stinking debate. That email where Politico reports this morning, it was personally written by Roger Ailes and approved by him, of course, that said, oh, gee, in the White House, the Ayatollah and Vladimir Putin want to have a meeting with Donald Trump, but he's not sure he should take it because he's afraid of them, and he's basically a coward. And I got to tell you, on that point, Donald Trump is right. That's not the job of the network to put out a statement ridiculing the leading Republican candidate for president, who is scheduled to appear on their network. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a crazy thing for Fox to do. When you read the statement, and as you summarized, it's something that Ted Cruz would write,
exactly.
right, in response to Donald Trump.
Right, yeah.
Right? And that's not the job of Fox News.
No.
I know that they want to take it far, and I know that they want to engage, and I know they want to provoke these candidates, which has been sort of a trend in all of the debates so far. But you can't do that.
No. So they were trying to provoke Donald Trump, to use your word, and they had the exact opposite effect. So last night, Trump agrees to go on the air on Fox with Bill O'Reilly. And again, they had agreed ahead of time that O'Reilly would, he said, we'll talk about the issues. But O'Reilly agreed he would not ask him if he would change his mind and come to the debate. That was the agreement for the interview. And, of course, Bill O'Reilly immediately broke his word, which leads to first this little exchange where it sounds like Bill O'Reilly is just begging him to do the debate.
I was not treated well by Fox. They came out with this ridiculous PR statement. It was like drawn up by a child, and it was a taunt. And I said, how much of this do you take? I have zero respect for Megyn Kelly. I don't think she's very good at what she does. I think she's highly overrated.
Yeah, right. So Donald Trump says again, that's why when he is asked the question, that's why he's not going to do it. And O'Reilly accuses him of walking away.
You're not giving them the opportunity to know them as well as they would like.
I'm not walking away, Bill.
You're
I'm not walking away.
Would you do me a favor?
Bill,
Look, you owe me because I bought you so many vanilla milkshakes. I bought you so many vanilla milkshakes. You owe me. Will you just consider? I want you to consider. All right?
Please, 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 please.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Please, please, will you consider? Please, come back. And finally he says, if you come back, I promise you don't have to buy me all the milkshakes you owe me.
Think about it. Say, look, I might come back. Forgive, go forward, answer the questions, look out for the folks. Just want you to consider it. You owe me milkshakes. I'll take them off the ledger if you consider it.
What?
What
I love the Fox News producer laughing.
Yeah, I mean, he's laughing.
Oh, yeah. He's got to laugh at that because it's so ridiculous. Yeah, at any rate. And I guess, that's probably that next because Bill O'Reilly admits here that he broke his agreement not to ask that question.
It's up to Fox. It's not up to me, Bill. What they did is they had that agreement. You actually did break the agreement.
You're telling the truth that I said.
Because I told you up front, I said, don't ask me that question because it's an embarrassing question for you. And
but I'm not going to listen to anybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I broke the agreement. But the bottom line is, so who do you think's winning this? I got to tell you, I think Donald Trump's winning this. I think he's going to have a big event tonight. It's going to get a lot of coverage. He's the one. He's the person everybody is talking about, and he has succeeded in showing that a Republican can stand up to Fox News and survive, and that a Republican leading candidate for president, as crazy as that may sound, is not going to let himself be pushed around by the network. And, Donald Trump's whole thing is anti-establishment, including the media establishment. Fits right into his wheelhouse.
Donald Trump is a hell of an entertainer. We knew that before he even ran for president. And the one thing that he has that none of the other candidates have is he doesn't need Fox News. He doesn't need them. He's got the exposure. He's got all the power here, right?
Yeah.
Like all these other candidates that want to get their message out, that are constantly making these appearances on all the morning shows and making the effort to get to a studio. Trump doesn't need that. No. He doesn't want to do it. That's why he doesn't do it. He calls in everywhere he goes. He doesn't need Fox News.
So what's going to happen? CNN and MSNBC, and maybe the networks, although more likely cable, will make money tonight by covering the Wounded Warriors event. Right. Yeah. And maybe they'll even do a split screen, right?
That would be something.
Yeah.
That would be something.
I don't know whether they can do it live, but at any rate. All right. So the question is, who is winning the debate, Donald Trump or Fox News? 866-55-PRESS. Do we want either one of them to win? Well, one of them's got to. I think so far Donald Trump is coming out on top. 866-55-PRESS. You tell me. Let's talk about it here on The Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. this is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Donald Trump doing the impossible, one might say, actually taking on Fox News, a Republican taking on Fox News. Yes, indeed, Donald says basically, I'm bigger than you are. You need me, I don't need you, and I'm moving on. Will he get away with it? Who's winning the battle? Off we go, 866-55-PRESS. Peter.
We're on Twitter, at BP Show, at BP Show. Phil weighs in on the question of who's winning versus Trump, or in Trump versus Fox News. The winner is Hillary Clinton. You can join in the conversation at BP Show if you have a comment.
And here comes Brother Ike down in Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, Ike, what's up?
Hey, all right. Well, it's nice to know you guys entertained yourself through the Snowmageddon. That's
one way or the other, we entertained ourselves.
Yeah. It's a fight between two petulant narcissists and billionaires is what's going on here.
Yeah.
And, to be honest with you, it's just like today. I finally decided, my boss is a big, mean, poopy head, and I'm just not going to work.
So... you think that's your description of Roger Ailes, the big poopy head?
I'm not going to go to school because the teacher's a big mean poopy head, and they're going to ask me questions.
I know. No, he does look like a petulant child, which is what Ted Cruz has been saying. But Fox is going to be the big loser here, don't you think, Ike?
Yeah, well, there's going to be some money. There's going to be people that aren't going to watch, but those are the people that will probably switch over and watch WWE wrestling anyway.
All right, you got it. Okay, Ike, have a good weekend. Good to hear from you. We got time for more calls, and we'll want more calls and take more calls coming up at 866-55-PRESS. I really did think that by the end of the day, he would say, okay, because this has happened before, right? These threats not to show up. That this time it would be once again that they would come to an agreement, shake hands, and move on to the debate. It's not going to happen, so who wins, Trump or Fox?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Across from me at the kitchen table, my mother smiles over red wine that she drinks out of a measuring glass. She says she doesn't deprive herself, but I've learned to find nuance in every movement of her fork, in every crinkle in her brow as she offers me the uneaten pieces on her plate. I've realized she only eats dinner when I suggest it. I wonder what she does when I'm not there to do so. Maybe this is why my house feels bigger each time I return. It's proportional. As she shrinks, the space around her seems increasingly vast. She wanes while my father waxes. His stomach has grown round with wine, late nights, oysters, poetry, a new girlfriend who was overweight as a teenager, but my dad reports now she's crazy about fruit. It was the same with his parents. As my grandmother became frail and angular, her husband swelled to red, round cheeks, rotund stomach, and I wonder if my lineage is one of women shrinking, making space for the entrance of men into their lives, not knowing how to fill it back up once they leave. I have been taught accommodation. My brother never thinks before he speaks. I have been taught to filter. How can anyone have a relationship to food, he asks, laughing, as I eat the black bean soup I chose for its lack of carbs. I want to say we come from difference, Jonas. You have been taught to grow out. I have been taught to grow in. You learn from our father how to emit, how to produce, to roll each thought off your tongue with confidence. You used to lose your voice every other week from shouting so much. I learned to absorb. I took lessons from our mother in creating space around myself. I learned to read the knots in her forehead while the guys went out for oysters, and I never meant to replicate her, but spend enough time sitting across from someone and you pick up their habits. That's why women in my family have been shrinking for decades. We all learned it from each other, the way each generation taught the next how to knit, weaving silence in between the threads, which I can still feel as I walk through this ever-growing house. Skin itching, picking up all the habits my mother has unwittingly dropped, like bits of crumpled paper from her pocket on her countless trips, from bedroom to kitchen to bedroom again. Nights I hear her creep down to eat plain yogurt in the dark, a fugitive stealing calories to which she does not feel entitled. Deciding how many bites is too many, how much space she deserves to occupy. Watching the struggle, I either mimic or hate her, and I don't want to do either anymore, but the burden of this house has followed me across the country. I asked 5 questions in genetics class today, and all of them started with the word sorry. I don't know the capstone requirements. I don't know the capstone requirements for the sociology major because I spent the whole meeting deciding whether or not I could have another piece of pizza. A circular obsession I never wanted, but inheritance is accidental. Still staring at me with wine-soaked lips from across the kitchen table.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Make it 34 minutes after the hour. Susan Page is the Washington bureau chief for USA Today. And she has interviewed the Iowa governor. Terry Branstad will be telling us all about that interview and joining us in our next segment. Right now, we're taking a look at the big battle between, and it's serious, between Fox News. In a certain way, the whole credibility of Fox News is on the line. Can they stand up to Donald Trump and survive? Can Donald Trump stand up to Fox News and survive? He has done so. Looks like living through on his commitment and determination not to participate in tonight's Republican debate. Fox has said they will not put an empty podium in the middle of the stage, as some people thought that they might. And Donald Trump instead has scheduled at Drake University a big rally to raise money and take up collection, I guess, or they're going to charge tickets. I'm not sure how they're doing it, for the Wounded Warriors program. Who's winning the battle? 866-55-PRESS. Jerry's on the line from Woodstown, New Jersey. Hey, Jerry, what's up?
Hi. I just wanted to say that, two things. One thing is Donald Trump's a coward because he's afraid of a woman. And number two, I don't understand why CNN, MSNBC, Free Speech, you've all jumped on the Trump bandwagon, but yet the questions were legitimate that Megyn Kelly asked him.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you on that.
But he's defending the woman's side of things.
And by the way, his treatment of her afterwards, remember all the blood pouring out of...
I mean, he put out.
He was disgusting.
He also put out a tweet over the weekend or earlier this week where he says, "I'm not going to call her a bimbo because that would be politically incorrect, but I think she's a bad anchor." In other words, he really wants to call her a bimbo, which is not okay.
No, he's really been a pig in his treatment of her.
Totally,
I'm not defending that. And by the way, it's kind of a pox, if you will, on both our houses, right? Yeah. Fox News or Donald Trump, Jerry, but. Now that they are in this battle, I think Trump comes out ahead, meaning I think he can do this and get away with it. And I think Fox News will lose some money.
Well, that's because the public doesn't pay attention, to be honest with you.
Well, we'll see how much attention they're paying tonight. Right. I'll tell you one thing. I think they would have paid attention if he had been on the stage. As we said several times, we would have tuned in just to see Megyn Kelly asking the question, the first question to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, let's go because at the same time, there is a little debate, as we mentioned earlier, a debate about the debates on the Democratic side as well.
Sure enough.
Right? So the backstory here is that, as we've discussed several times, the Democratic National Committee, trying to help protect Hillary and help Hillary, scheduled only 6 debates compared to 12 for the Republicans, and they scheduled them at very awkward times, like the Sunday of Martin Luther King holiday and like the Saturday before Christmas. So Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders have been raising hell about this, saying there should be more debates. They want as many debates as possible. Hillary didn't want that many debates because she was the front runner. Well, now the tables have turned a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie's certainly the front runner in New Hampshire, and he's neck and neck with her in Iowa. So NBC decided they would take advantage of this, and they got together with the union leader, and they announced that next Thursday in New Hampshire, they're going to have an unsanctioned debate. They're going to defy the DNC and have a debate and have the 3 Democratic candidates on stage. We thought this was a done deal yesterday morning until we learned from David. Was it David Jackson? No, wasn't it? One of our reporters.
One
out
of our
in
reporters.
Iowa,
Yeah.
That no, not everybody had agreed to this debate. Hillary had, and she agreed to it, provided the DNC sanctions the debate. She wasn't going to go into the DNC because if she did, then the DNC rules are she could not appear in the following 2 debates, which are coming up. 2 or however many are left.
2 more, yeah.
2 or 3. Then Bernie Sanders had not agreed at all. Bernie Sanders. So then Bernie came out yesterday and said, all right, I will do this debate next week on two conditions. One, that the DNC sanction the debate, and two, that they hold 3 more debates. I think one in February, one in March, one in April.
Yeah.
Because he said he would like to have as many debates as possible, which of course Martin O'Malley would too. But so now the DNC is saying still, at this point, they're not going to sanction any more debates. Hillary Clinton called into Chris Matthews' show last night, and again said she'd welcome another debate.
I would look forward to another debate. I am, anxious if we can get something set up to be able to be there, and so let's try to make it happen.
Yeah, Hillary on Hardball last night, and by the way, she should welcome more debates. She's good at these debates.
Yeah, that's the irony of this whole thing, where they've tried to keep the debate schedule hidden for the Democrats, presumably in a way to sort of help protect Hillary. Is it's hurt her?
Yeah. Somebody told somebody from the Clinton campaign, I doubt very much it was Hillary, she probably didn't even know about it, told Debbie Wasserman Schultz, hey, you got to give us a break here. We don't want too many debates, and so have as few debates as you can and schedule them at the worst possible times that you can because, we need to protect Hillary. Well, you don't have to protect Hillary. Last week at the town hall meeting, she was on fire. She's the best I've ever seen her. Her back was against the wall. She knew Bernie was closing in on her in Iowa, and she knew she had to perform, and she did. She's good. She's very good at these debates. She knows the issues. She's got the experience. You just let her loose, let her rip, and she'll win every time. She also she finished up with Chris Matthews last night saying, again, notice it's very important. What she's saying is, let's hopefully get on the same page. She is not saying, I will defy the DNC.
I would like the chairman of the party and the campaign to agree that we can debate in New Hampshire next week. That is what I'm hoping will happen.
So it looks like there could be a debate next week. If the DNC sanctions it, then I think we'll see Bernie and Hillary and Martin O'Malley on stage. The DNC doesn't, probably no debate.
Buckle up, Buttercup. This could get really interesting.
And meanwhile, tonight, keep your eye on the competing events out in Iowa. And meanwhile, on this political front as well, Bernie Sanders talking about a political revolution. It's a progressive revolution we need, which is the point that I make in my new book called Buyer's Remorse. We have copies available for you, signed copies. On our website, it comes out next week, but you can already order your copy, a signed copy, inscribed to you or anybody else you want it signed to. Just let us know how you want it signed. Go to the website, BillPressShow.com. Easy to follow. We'll get it out to you right away.
We should point out, by the way, that you can, as you mentioned, you can get it inscribed however you would like. And we have gotten some very creative.
Oh, yes.
Very creative. You use your imagination, right? If you want to give it to your Republican friends and family or your very progressive friends and family, Bill will do however you want.
We don't ask
no questions.
We don't ask any questions as long as it's not porn.
Right. I don't think anyone's asked you to write, no one has asked you to write erotica yet.
No. Okay.
Right. The inscription.
No. But you tell us. I want to ask any questions. Won't challenge your judgment. You just tell us, and we'll sign it that way and get the book out to you. Right. Buyer's Remorse: How Obama Let Progressives Down. Talks about all the great, just like Bernie did yesterday. Talks about all the great things Obama did, but also says, we've disagreed on some points. He let us down on some points. Let's be honest about it. The next president's got to take the progressive agenda and run for it. Get your book at BillPressShow.com. Susan Page coming up next.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your Grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV, this is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 13 minutes before the top of the hour. It is cold in Iowa. It is early in the morning in Iowa. But you know, with the caucus is right on the corner, nobody sleeps. Everybody's on the job early, including Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, our good friend and co-host of Capital Download on WUSA 9 on Sunday mornings here in Washington, D.C. Susan, thanks for getting up early for us this morning.
Hey, Bill, glad to do it.
How's it going in Iowa? Is it really? I talked to a friend of mine out there last night who said it was really cold.
You know, here's the thing. Given what's happening in Washington with the weather, I feel like we should not be complaining about a little Iowa cold, where the streets are clear and the schools are open.
Well, they know. Yeah, they know how to handle it, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What's the weather forecast for Tuesday?
Well, it's on Monday, of course, would be the day
Monday,
you'd be worried
Monday,
about.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
the forecast, I think, is okay. There's supposed to be a snowstorm coming in Tuesday, which could trap the entire political universe here as they try to leave Iowa and get to New Hampshire. But Monday, I believe the long-term forecast is reasonably good.
Oh. Wouldn't that be amazing if after the caucuses,
everybody gets snowed in?
They had to stay in Iowa.
Not that it's not a lovely place.
No. But these candidates, I mean, once they're over, they don't really come back to Iowa, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there is nothing like, I've been there, nothing like the Des Moines airport the morning after the caucuses, right, Susan? You see everybody you know in the media.
And everybody's tired and mad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So the war of the titans here between Donald Trump and Fox News. Who wins this battle, Susan?
You know, I think that we've learned that it's always safe to bet on Donald Trump.
I'm afraid you're right.
Usually, often candidates pay a price for ducking a debate.
Yeah.
But he actually, that statement that Fox News put out, about him. I think gave him some grounds to complain, and this alternative event he's put on, like it's about a mile from the debate site at Drake University, is just. It's brilliant.
Are the networks going to cover the Trump event?
Well, I'm sure the networks that are not Fox are going to cover the Trump event.
Yeah. Don't you think? So,
how could you not? And
what's the biggest rating? What's the bigger ratings draw? Honestly, right? It would probably be Trump.
Yeah, it's think how frustrating it must be to be one of his Republican rivals, where once again there's a story that involves Trump and does not involve you.
But the idea that a politician could decide who gets to ask the questions and who doesn't. Other than the President of the United States, you usually don't have that kind of a dictatorial authority. So I don't like that aspect of it at all. But at the same time, you're right. Fox News, the statement they put out was insulting to Donald Trump, and put out by the network, not by a commentator, right, or one of their.
Yes, I completely agree. It's not up to Donald Trump who moderates the debate, and I think he would be in a much weaker position, kind of politically speaking, or in public relations terms, if they hadn't put out that other statement.
Did news of Bernie's visit to the White House trickle down in Iowa yesterday? We were there at the stakeout when he came out after the meeting.
And how did he seem?
He seemed in very good form, and he said, I thought he was very straightforward, right, about... the president and I have had some disagreements on some issues, but, all in all, he came up and campaigned for me, and I've campaigned for him, and he's taken the country down a good road, and I've supported him.
No, I'm actually going to see, you saw him yesterday in Washington. I'm going to a breakfast this morning sponsored by Bloomberg Politics with Bernie Sanders. He's going to sit down with a group of, maybe 15 reporters from Bloomberg and elsewhere. And so I'm curious to have him talk a little bit more about what he said and heard from President Obama yesterday.
Yeah, apparently they had a very good meeting, and it was important for both of them, I believe, right? Important for the White House because a lot of people felt, I'm sure, maybe I certainly did, you probably did, in that interview with Politico that it looked like Obama was really tilting toward Hillary, and they wanted to make clear, no, we're fine, with both. And Bernie needed that little, I think, a special Oval Office time too.
Yeah. I think that President Obama does in fact would put his finger on the scale for for Hillary Clinton. But as the president and a Democrat, and with what turns out to be a very competitive process here for the nomination, probably appropriate for him to not do that.
You had a chance to talk with Governor Branstad out there, and he anybody but Ted Cruz, I guess, for him, right?
Here's what's interesting. Terry Branstad has to be the anti-Trump, right? He's kind of nerdy. He's quiet. He's there's no bluster there. He's the longest-serving governor in the history of the United States.
Really?
Talk about being in public office. So, in many ways, the opposite of Donald Trump. He said only favorable things about Trump to me.
No kidding.
And even to the question about could it work to have a president who has no governmental experience? And he said, maybe.
What is it just the ethanol thing? What did Trump do to Cruz do to piss him off?
Well, clearly the issue of ethanol is really important to Terry Branstad and to some other Iowans too. But Cruz has had this problem with many people where there just seems to be a reaction to him that is remarkable. Don't you think? Reaction even from fellow Republican senators.
Oh, he's the most hated senator, I think, on the Hill, right, among Democrats and Republicans. Yeah.
It's remarkable how that's mattered, too, because in a way, you'd think, well, who cares what other senators think? But it's made a difference.
Yeah, he doesn't have one endorsement, and I think Mitch McConnell has even gone out of his way to say some nasty things about him. And he said nasty things about Mitch McConnell, so there you go. All right, Susan, you're starting a day. Say hello to Bernie and tell him we enjoyed seeing him at the White House yesterday.
I'll do that.
All right, thanks, Susan.
Thanks.
Bring it through on Monday. We're counting on Susan Page to deliver, as she always does, usatoday.com.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Roger Stone, a former big consultant to Donald Trump, joins us at the top of the next hour about his new book on the Bush family.
A damning new report by CBS. CBS takes a look at the Wounded Warrior Project, right? This is a fascinating story. Donald Trump's event tonight will give the proceeds to the Wounded Warrior Project, but is it as charitable as it claims? They say that most charities that are work with veterans issues spend about 96% on actually helping veterans versus their overhead, 91% for Fisher House, whereas the Wounded Warrior Project only spends about 60%. They say this new CEO once flew all of the staff to a 5-star resort in Colorado Springs. They spent $26 million in 2014 on conferences alone compared to 1.7 in 2010. It's a real waste of money.
That is bad news.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, I think seeing it all stemmed from kind of the Iraq War selling, when I saw the media kind of going across party lines and realizing that it wasn't just the Republican establishment, it wasn't just the Democratic establishment, it's the entire corporate establishment that perpetuates this system and keeps it continuous by lying and by protecting itself. And when I saw that going on during the run-up to the Iraq War, I became a really focused on anti-war activism. But through that, I saw that media was a huge problem, because I was just realizing that, you can only hand out so many flyers, but if you don't have some sort of medium to tell your message and counter the establishment bullshit, then no one's gonna hear you. So I realized that I needed to get into media activism, and I guess coming from an activist roots, I never really saw any differentiation between how to be a professional journalist, and I actually didn't go to J school, which I know a lot of journalists go into the system, and they, when you are hammered so much about how to do journalism, you kind of forget how to do it. Yeah. It's just kind of like art school sometimes, where you're so regimented in how to do it, and it's really old school. And right now I think that we need a new media, a new wave of media that isn't regimented in that kind of that old school way of thinking. And I don't need to look at what the State Department's telling me or these press releases from the government to know that it's bullshit, and I don't need to present their alternative, like their voices when I give my alternative perspective. I just want to say, we all know what they're saying already, so we don't need to give that, like, you know what I mean, like the both sides of the issue. And so I just go out there full force and I just say exactly what I'm thinking, and I think it's really refreshing for people to see a journalist who actually cares and is just kind of going out balls to the wall. I think it's the biggest fight that we have is media, and what you guys are doing is crucial, because those are the actors that we're listening to tell us the news. Unfortunately, in the media revolution and the renaissance of citizen journalism, there's a lot of people who say, oh, we just need to make the corporate media irrelevant, and that's true, and that's what we're doing now with building these alternatives. But the problem is, at least in America, 50% of Americans still watch the mainstream media and get their information from the mainstream. So there's only so much you can do to kind of try to change that opinion that's so ingrained with a lot of like the older generations. But I do think the younger generations are going to the internet, and I know that creation and new media content is the most important thing that we can do right now to change hearts and minds and to really perpetuate the revolution of consciousness. It's happening everywhere, but there is a problem online that we kind of, all these algorithms and stuff kind of seek to reaffirm our own biases, and we all have like different search engines that are catering our stories toward us. So we just need to be conscious of how we can still have an intake of multiple sources of information to find and formulate our own opinions, and not just keep going and validating what we already think and surrounding ourselves by people that are kind of yes men. So if we can just understand that that's happening and use the internet as a tool and a consensus building where we can reach out across different communities and people who have different opinions, but try to build that consensus while still using those alternative routes. What gives me hope is you guys. I mean, everyone here at the Zeitgeist movement, it's mind-blowing. I mean, all the people, it's like really emotional for people to come up and say that my show inspired them, and it's hard to live in DC and to be in like a studio where you're kind of enclosed and be surrounded by all these people who are like working within the system that I think is completely broken, and we can't even, you know what I mean? We can't waste our time trying to reform a system that's broken and outdated. So it's unbelievable to come outside of that bubble and to see how many people agree, how many people are already working to build their own. I mean, all of the incredible ecological transformations and technological advancements that are happening that the system just doesn't talk about because it challenges them too much. And that's what's so inspiring and motivating to me. And I just think we need to keep inspiring each other and sharing each other's messages and building each other up, because we just got to keep fighting, because we will win. We are winning. People get what's going on, and they just need the tools to figure out how they can be a part of it. Just don't give up. I know that it seems incredibly daunting. Everything completely fucked up. No matter where you look, it seems like there's nothing you can do, but there is. And I always tell people, I went the media route, but I think that whatever issue speaks to you the most, whether it be food, water, sweatshops, like the hydroponics that they were talking about, and all like the agricultural revolution, that's what, just hone in on the issues that speak most to your soul And even if you're living in like some remote rural area, start a hub, start a blog, start a podcast, get on AM radio. I mean, all of these things that you can do, and go to meetup.com, because there's people who are like minds out there. As much as the establishment wants to phase out all critical thinking and alternatives, we exist and we are stronger than them, and our voices are way more powerful than those people who dictate our reality, and we need to change that reality by just creating our own, reaching out to the communities, reaching out to like minds, because we're all around. And the second that you start like meeting people in your area, they energize each other, you know, and you can inspire each other and realize, okay, you're awesome. I didn't even know that you were living right down the street. And I feel like we're so separated from people and isolated in our modern technological society that we don't even just talk to our neighbors and people like, you know, on the train and the subway and stuff, and just say, hey. And I just think that if people did that more, they would realize how much more we all have in common and how much we can all work together to really make the world a sustainable, better place.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Fox News is begging Donald Trump to do the debate tonight. He's not going to. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Good to see you today. Good to be with you today. It is The Bill Press Show, and here we go. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in the middle of the action. Well, when there is any action in Washington, there's not much around now with Congress out of town, still recovering from the snowstorm. We are reaching out to you and sitting right alongside of you here on your local radio station. Here with you on the radio, nationwide, coast to coast, and also here with you on television on Free Speech TV. Good to see you today, and thank you for joining us. Remember, we want to hear from you what you think about the issues of the day at 866-55-PRESS. I'm here with our team, Peter Ogburn, Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
Ray Rogers on the phone, so take your calls at 866. Cyprian Bolding, not standing by, on the job as our videographer on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. The big news we've been talking about, whether or not Donald Trump's going to show up tonight. Pretty clear that he's not. He's scheduled on a competing event, if you will, to raise money for the wounded warriors. But, you know, people are going to turn out to see Donald Trump. They are excited to see him. And if you don't believe that, even up in Maine, Peter, a 10-year-old girl, her mother made the big one. She is taking her to New Hampshire to see Donald Trump next week. This little girl is so excited. She can't stand it. The video has gone viral.
Ava, I gotta tell you something.
What?
Guess what we're gonna do Monday?
What?
We are going to see Donald Trump in person in New Hampshire.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my word!
Are you excited?
Yes!
You get to go see him in person, not just on TV.
Thank you, Mom!
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yes!
Do you want to meet him? Tell Mr. Trump you want to meet him.
I
Oh, God.
Oh, my
Say,
God.
can I meet you,
She's
Mr. Trump?
brainwashing that little daughter. She
Ava
is
is
the most
excited.
excited kid from Maine to see Donald Trump since Jamie Benson.
Yo, it is a bad week for Maine.
It's a
Man.
First Paula Page, now this.
Right, yeah.
Ugh.
Bring back the guillotine and bring back Donald Trump.
Oh, my God.
We got a very exciting hour for you today, starting out with Roger Stone. You remember Roger Stone? One time, the chief political consultant to Donald Trump, a long political career. He and I have debated each other several times. He's got a new book out called, get this, Jeb and the Bush Crime Family.
I love that title.
Sounds like my kind of book. We'll talk to Roger in just a minute here. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You know, Facebook might just be here to stay. They announced their quarterly earnings earlier this week, and boy, oh boy, are they making some money. Advertisers appear to continue to be pouring in as Facebook announced their very first billion-dollar quarter.
No kidding.
Their quarterly earnings topped $1 billion for the fourth quarter. That is what they announced yesterday. So people still using Facebook, even though, there's a lot of people age out of it and move on to other social platforms. It's still viable, man. Remember I told you earlier this week about the devastating loss that the San Antonio Spurs suffered to the Golden State Warriors. They got blown out by 30 points. Well, Spurs star LaMarcus Aldridge was so bummed out by the defeat, he deactivated all of his social media accounts. He deleted his Twitter account. He deleted his Instagram account. He was absolutely crushed. And apparently it's working because last night the Spurs rebounded. They beat the Rockets 130-99, and LaMarcus Aldridge led the way with 25 points. So maybe less time to focus on his social media means more time to focus on his ball game.
Rockets aren't that good.
And also the Rockets aren't that good. Jamie, thank you very much. But you never know with the Rockets. They're always a little competitive, especially with that rivalry. So, did you hear this thing about Washington, D.C.? They got some snow this weekend. Did you hear this? We got a little snow this weekend. It's been bad news for business because businesses have to close, but it's been pretty good news for the business of Washington, D.C. Since the blizzard began this past Friday, the district has issued $1.78 million worth of parking tickets. Parking tickets alone, well over $1 million, and $65,600 in fines alone.
That's outrageous.
Here's what they're saying, because they put it into a snow emergency, which gives them the right to tow cars that are on the snow path, or on the snow removal path, all this type of stuff. So the way that this works out is violators who are in the tow path, they'll get a $250 ticket, $100 tow charge, and then $25 a day until they pick up their vehicle. So,
well, we have a snow emergency lane right here on Independence Avenue, just around the corner from where we live. And Carol and I checked it out. There was nobody on that street. People were smart. There's nobody.
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
You got it. Yes, indeed. Veteran political consultant Roger Stone out with a new book, Jeb and the Bush Crime Family, The Inside Story of an American Dynasty. Roger joins us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Roger, it's been a while. Good to talk to you.
Good morning, Bill. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Terrific. Never better.
All right. Well, got to get your latest on the war between Donald Trump and Fox News. But, let's set that aside for a second. Tell us about this book, The Bush Crime Family. Which of the many Bushes are you talking about, or all of them?
I'm talking about all of them. Prescott Bush, the patriarch of the Bush family, senator from Connecticut. He makes his money arming the Nazis. He owns a steel mill that uses slave labor from Auschwitz. His bank is actually seized by the U.S. government for treasonous activity in 1938. Then, of course, there's George H.W. Bush. In Iran-Contra, he refuses to be questioned or to turn over any documents, and that's how he avoids indictment. I also focus on the Reagan assassination and the many strange connections of the Hinckleys to the Bushes. And then, of course, there's Jeb. Now, he's not doing great in the polls, but I'm taking no chances. As it were. I take a look at his business career in Miami, his shady business dealings, his past as a drug dealer, his own drug use, which is hypocritical because he's such a drug warrior.
Drug dealer, Jeb Bush?
Yes. At Andover when he's in boarding school, in college, and then later in both Houston and Miami. I make a case that Jeb has been involved in dealing drugs.
That's the squarest drug dealer I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, no, look, the guy was perpetually stoned, according to his classmates that I interviewed, and it's the hypocrisy. It's what I call elite deviance. There are certain people in the country, so wealthy, so connected, so powerful, that the laws don't apply to them. And I think the Bushes meet this category.
Did you deliberately or just forget to mention W?
Oh, believe me, he's in there. It's just that his crimes are so well known, talking us into a phony war, for example. So, look, I've just, as you probably know, I have written a book on the Clintons' war on women. I've now written a book on the Bushes. These are bookends. It should be called the Bush-Clinton crime syndicate, because we talk a lot about their phony and fraudulent charitable activities. For example, their Haitian Relief Fund raises $138 million, spends $10 million. Somebody pocketed $128 million. It's all in the book.
On the Bush family, you got actions and projects or whatever, or issues or policy that you don't like is one thing, but you go beyond that, Roger. I mean, you're saying actually these are crimes for which they should have been indicted, should be locked away for. Actual crimes, right?
Yes. I read John Meacham's biography of George H.W. Bush. Bill, it's a whitewash. It's as if Iran-Contra never happened. It's as if the U.S. government was not trafficking both narcotics and weapons in order to illegally raise money for the Iran-Contra after the Boland Amendment, after Congress shut down aid for the Nicaraguan rebels. It's just airbrushed out of history like it never happened. It's one of the reasons I wrote this book.
But that was Ronald Reagan's trafficking in drugs, right?
Yeah,
in arms to help the Contras, right?
Yes, and the head of the task force, really pulled together by Bill Casey, is none other than Vice President George Bush. This is why when the drug smuggler Barry Seal, who's deeply involved in Iran-Contra, is murdered, George Bush's phone number is found in a piece of paper wadded up in his wallet. The new TV series, by the way, Narco, actually covers this.
Roger Stone is our guest. Roger Stone's new book, Jeb and the Bush Crime Family. It's just out, the inside story of an American dynasty. As he says, it's a bookend. You are, I guess, an equal opportunity critic or offender, right, against both the... I was going to say, it's a strange book for a Republican to write, this one. Have you gotten a lot of criticism from your Republican friends?
Well, some. I mean, the point, of course, is the Bushes aren't conservatives. They're crony capitalists. They believe in nothing whatsoever. So it's not a strange book for a conservative Republican to write. Now, the truth is, Bill, I'm not a Republican anymore. I finally came around to the view that the two-party duopoly is kind of all in it together. So I joined the Libertarian Party and voted against Mitt Romney just because I couldn't stomach it. I might, like Teddy Roosevelt, like Ron Paul, I might come back to the Republican Party someday. But for the time being, both parties, in my view, have kind of morphed into the same party.
So
it's a party of endless war, erosion of civil liberties, massive debt, and so on.
So does that mean you are one of the people encouraging Michael Bloomberg to run?
No, I'm for Donald because we've been friends for 37 years, and he's unique to say the least, and we have some disagreements. But the great asset there, frankly, is his financial independence. The idea that you actually have a president who is not beholden to any special interest, not to the lobbyists, not to the moneyed interests. He's his own man, very much his own man, very much doing it his way. I left his campaign in August because, frankly, he doesn't need a strategist. He is his own strategist. And you can't argue with it. I mean, look at his poll numbers. Look at where he is in the race. So he's done it his way, and he's done an incredible job.
Well, yeah, when you guys sort of had your little breakup in August, I know you've been friends and some maybe and some professional capacity for a while. I really thought you would come back, you know what I mean? But you haven't. But you still stay in touch with him on the campaign trail?
I actually think I've been more effective on his behalf from the outside than I ever could have been on the inside, because I've obviously spoken very extensively about why I support him.
Yeah,
and we talk from time to time. But as I said, he's doing it his way. I'm merely a supporter at this juncture.
Right,
would I go back in? I don't anticipate being asked. If I did, I'd do whatever he wanted me to do to become president, of course.
So do you think, did he do the right thing in boycotting this debate tonight And who wins this battle, Donald Trump or Fox News?
Well, you can't judge a play if you walk out in the intermission. Let's see how this plays out tonight. This isn't over, in my opinion. What he has done is masterfully dominated the entire news cycle for 2 cycles in a row.
That's for sure.
It's like blotting out the sun for Ted Cruz. Ted who? Ted who? Ted, where's Ted? It really has been brilliant from that point of view. I can see this both ways. On the one hand, you could see Iowa voters saying, well, wait a minute, why doesn't he want to show up and debate? On the other hand, you could see people, boy, there's Trump being tough. You can't push him around. Not even a big television network can push him around. I would argue, Bill, they need each other.
Mm-hmm.
Fox is reaching 8 out of 10 Republican primary voters, and Fox needs the ratings. So Donald needs to reach those voters. Fox needs the rating. It's really a symbiotic relationship. I wouldn't be shocked if he shows up tonight, not in the slightest. He's a showman above all.
Boy, he could certainly. That would be dramatic if he did show up. But I agree with you. At the same time, doesn't make him look a little weak. I mean, to be afraid of questions from Megyn Kelly. I mean, I've debated her. You've probably been on with her. She's great. She's good. She's not that tough, right? So,
yeah, again, I think it can play out either way. At this point, he's grabbed the moment and he's grabbed the microphone. Let's see how it plays out. We'll know here shortly. But it guarantees that the dialogue going into the caucus is all about Trump, any way you slice it.
Absolutely. And if he has this alternative event tonight, he could easily get a bigger rating than the Republican debate without him.
By the way, Donald Trump tweeted this morning, wow, 2 candidates have already asked me if they could participate in my event tonight. Doesn't name who, but it's very interesting.
The alternative. I don't know, Roger. I suspect you might be behind this whole move tonight. Yeah.
Warm up a seat for Mike Huckabee.
Yeah, exactly. You know he's one of the 2 of them, indeed.
Got to be.
Well, congratulations on the book. Thanks for your time this morning, Roger. Again, the book, Jeb and the Bush Crime Family, The Inside Story of an American Dynasty. Roger Stone. Thanks, Roger. Talk to you again soon.
We're pulling no punches. Many thanks, Bill.
All right. There it is. I couldn't go along with everything he writes in this book, but
it's interesting stuff, man.
But he's out there, and again, an equal opportunity offender. Roger Stone.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light. It's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The only thing we can do is have the people finally rise up and say, we're not going to take it anymore, and make sure that our voice is going to be heard.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour. Well, at least my book is not named The Obama Crime Family. No. I'm not as harsh as Roger Stone. Some people give me some criticism.
Could be a lot worse.
Exactly. But do want to remind you, my new book about the progressive agenda and why we got to fight for a progressive agenda in the next president, and why this president, as good as he is and all the good things that he's done, has let us down in many ways. It's buyer's remorse. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com. Order your signed copy now and just tell us how you want it signed. We will get it out to you. $27 for the book, the mailing, the postage, tax, everything. You got it. But the book comes out next week. Order your copy today. I was there at the White House yesterday when Senator Bernie Sanders, no doubt about the progressive agenda he would bring to the White House, stepped out of the White House after his meeting with President Obama and met with us reporters, said it was a good talk.
It was just a discussion to just get myself updated on some of the current issues facing this country, how we most effectively deal with ISIS, his assessment about Iran.
And, of course, the very first question shouted to the senator after he finished his introductory remarks, what about an endorsement?
Did you ask the president's endorsement?
No, of course not. What the president has tried to do, what Vice President Biden has tried to do, is to be as even-handed as they could be. And I know there was some discussion the other day about a Politico interview where he was tipping the scale towards Secretary Clinton. I don't believe that at all.
Nope. And Josh Earnest told us as well, the president steadily neutral in this battle between Hillary and Bernie.
This
Back with
is
Matt
the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water. Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now, 33 minutes after the hour. How about it? It is The Bill Press Show. We are here in our nation's capital, booming out to you live, coast to coast, on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, and on television on Free Speech TV. And we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT, making a difference in America's classrooms every day, you bet, under President Randy Weingarten. By the way, I have, Peter, a special permission from Randy Weingarten.
Yeah?
That tomorrow I'm going to be in the classroom. I'm going to be teaching 5 classes tomorrow at my alma mater, my high school in Wilmington, Delaware.
No way.
Yep. Salesianum High School. Going to be up there and starting at 8:15 tomorrow morning. And I'll tell you, those students had better be ready, man.
Professor Press?
Professor Press, yeah.
Whip him into shape, man.
I'm thinking I might spring a sneak quiz.
Pop quiz. Pop quiz, hot shot. Y'all ready for it?
Right.
That's what you should do.
I shouldn't have said that because now I know. Don't say anything.
Yeah, you got it.
All right,
Keep it
anyhow.
under wraps.
And I'll tell you, my normal day, of course, after the show here, I head down to the White House for the daily briefing. It's always interesting to see what's going on in front of the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue any particular day. There's always a demonstration, usually for something or against something. And yesterday it was a huge crowd there, and the big sign that they were holding said, "No more deportations." A group of Latino activists who were protesting President Obama's administration and their efforts to round up and deport and break up many families is still going on. Matt Fusilli-Gambros has been covering this issue for the National Journal here in Washington and on the ground in Iowa and joins us in the studio this morning. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you.
Hey, good morning.
I don't know. Were you down there yesterday? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's too cold.
Big crowd, and then it was too cold. Yeah, it was. And I got there as they were sort of breaking up. The last speaker was speaking, and then they were going over to Union Station, and they were reenacting what it was like for the ICE agents to show up in the middle of the night with a family,
right,
and grab a couple of members, and off they go. It's pretty dramatic stuff, and it's going on as we speak, right?
Right. It's happening all across first it's happened in the American South. I know there were some deportations in Texas and I think in Georgia and some other places, but this is not something that's new, right? It's happened across the country before, and like you said, I was in Iowa in the small town called Marshalltown. Small town, 28,000 people, about an hour north of Des Moines. And 10 years ago, there was a ICE raid, an immigration raid, at a meatpacking plant at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so these people were at work, and
so they went off to work and never came home. Is that
exactly?
Right?
Yeah. And so basically, a lot of things went wrong that day. The first of which was, they were leading the 100 undocumented immigrants out of the plant, still covered in, the pork blood and everything that they had. They were working that day.
Yeah.
There were reports of women being dragged by hair, people jumping into vats of oils and fats just to run away from this. Also, ICE did not inform the families of those being deported. And so basically that night, community leaders had to go around town going door to door to find unattended children.
Oh, good Lord.
And it was very dramatic and very heartbreaking. And so I went back to Marshalltown 10 years later. This happened in 2006. 10 years later to interview some of the families who were affected. One woman who was an undocumented immigrant who had got an immigration lawyer who eventually, got her some sort of permanent residency, but one family who was completely separated. They, half of them went back to Mexico. It was just a really terrible situation. And now that there are ICE raids happening, the old wounds are coming back.
I just got opening up the old wounds for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's just kind of rubbing the salt in there. And I talked to children of those men and women who were detained and arrested, and it just brings back painful memories. Like, just for one example, I talked to one woman who found out her uncle had been deported that day because she saw his photo on the front page of the Des Moines Register.
Oh, no.
They weren't told about it at all, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
In terms of today's raids, do we have any number of the total, any idea of the total number?
Right. I mean, we really don't have a lot of that information. I mean, obviously, there have been raids over the last couple decades. That day, there was 100 in Iowa. There was 1,200 nationwide, but really, they didn't, release names and information for months.
When this issue has come up at our White House briefings during the last couple of weeks, Josh Earnest's point has always been, these are only recent arrivals, people who have come in after we let it be known for sure that wave of children a year and a half ago or whatever doesn't mean that the borders or you're any more welcome up here. You should not come. So these are people who have come after that, like that last warning. That at least that's what we've been told at the White House. And it's important to send a message that you should not be tempted to come up here and think you're going to get away with it.
Right. But here's the actual other message that's happening. It sends a message to the Latino community, whether they're undocumented or documented, that says that, your community is not welcoming, and people are going to start, leaving these small towns. Like in Iowa, there are many majority Latino towns, and they're leaving, and they're not, doing businesses. It also sends a message that the Democratic Party under the President Obama doesn't. I talked to several Latinos in Iowa. They say we don't believe in the president anymore because of some of these things. And so what kind of message does that show for the next election? Do you think that some Latinos who know someone who's deported or someone in their family or friend or whomever were deported, do you think they're going to go out and caucus for Hillary or Bernie Sanders or whomever?
The only saving grace, of course, is that the Republican Party is worse, meaning they're not in charge now, so you can't blame them for the current raids.
Right.
But in the sense that they are totally against any comprehensive immigration reform where the president has not been able to achieve it, but he's certainly for it. But I mean, that's not defending the current raids. All I'm saying is both parties. And we'll talk about those. By the way, they have a title that they call President Obama. I'm sure you heard.
Oh, no.
Deporter in...
Oh, in chief, yeah.
Yeah, deporter in chief.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And there were some of those signs yesterday. So let's talk Monday. There are caucuses in Iowa, as you mentioned, a big Latino population there. Are they going to participate? What did you pick up?
Yeah, I think that's the big clue. Well, I wanted to mention, you said Republicans were worse, but it was funny because when I was talking to Latinos, I spent a week there just going across the state, and when I was talking to them, like, how are campaigns doing? And they had a lot of complaints, and I'm like, well, what are Republicans doing? And they said, well, Jeb Bush sent his wife once to talk to us. I was like, okay, I guess that's that's something. But
thanks.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, she speaks Spanish. Yeah, no, and she's Latina. So no. So basically, I spent the week just asking what campaigns have done differently this time around, because I was there. You covered this. There was that brown and black forum where each candidate got to go on stage and talk about issues that are important to people of color. And so there were a lot of events that week around Latinos and African Americans. And it felt like, there's actually tension in this. And so I was like, oh, look, this must be different. And they said, this isn't different. It's pandering. And it's not really outreach. And what's happening is that there isn't really strong infrastructure being built by the Democratic Party or even the Republican Party. I really didn't focus on the Republicans because it really wasn't an issue, right? But for Democrats, Latinos feel that the Democratic Party just asks for their vote when they need it every 4 years. And so really there's no infrastructure, no get out the vote or education. A lot of Latinos I talked to didn't even know what a caucus was, right? And this is on Monday. And so, and I followed the O'Malley campaign one day to Marshalltown, and Gabby Dolman-Zane, she's there, she's a senior advisor and a Latina activist. She's sitting around a table, and a couple of the students at the table were just telling her that they're just jaded with Democratic politics and why should they even come out. And they even doubted whether or not O'Malley could win and whether they should even come out for that. But just kind of shows you that there's really a disheartened feeling out there that
well, it's disturbing to hear, because we know the famous report from which we've talked about many times from the Republican National Committee post 2012, the infamous autopsy report, where they said we'll never win the White House back unless we have strong and actually lead the fight for comprehensive immigration reform, all of which they ignored, despite warnings by Lindsey Graham and others. So the Republican Party has done nothing in terms of outreach. I think most of us thought the Democratic Party had what you're finding, certainly in Iowa, which is very key, because they need people to come out and turn out for these caucuses and spend the entire night there voting for their candidate,
right,
that they don't feel that they've been, reached out to enough.
Yeah, and I think this is the key. So there are 180,000 Latinos in Iowa. It's like 6% of the population. It's not a lot, but it's the fastest growing. It's the youngest population.
That's a big chunk.
It's a big chunk. So basically, what activists there wanted to tell me was that they want candidates and surrogates to talk about immigration in Iowa the same way you talk about it in Nevada, because it is as big of an issue in that state as it is anywhere else. And even Javier Becerra, the House Democratic Caucus chair, was there stumping for Hillary. And when I asked him about these complaints, he said, you're right. We only come out every 4 years. But he said the only way campaigns will make an effort is if Latinos caucus. But then I asked Latinos, the only way we'll caucus is if the campaigns make this. So it's this weird catch-22, but it's an interesting dynamic that's happening on the grassroots level in Iowa.
Yeah, and he's been there right in the heart of the action for the National Journal, soon to be moving to the Atlantic. Matt Placidigambros here in the studio with us. A question or a comment, now's your chance, 866-55-PRESS. Matt, when we come back, I know you follow some of the candidates out there. Let's talk about their outreach. And also your calls. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
All right, Jake Tapper, the CNN host of State of the Union, joins us in the next hour here on the Bill Press Show. And Matt Vasily-Gombros from National Journal, again, soon to be Atlantic. When? Monday?
Monday.
Whoa, here in the studio with us, fresh out of the snowfields of Iowa, talking about...
Into the snowfields of Washington, D.C.
Into the snowfields of Washington, D.C., snow streets of Washington, D.C.
Right.
Are Latinos going to turn out for the caucus because caucus is on Monday. They don't feel they've been treated well by Democrats or Republicans. I want to talk to you a little bit about Ted Cruz, but first, here is Jose. Jose calling from Chicago. Jose, good morning.
Well, good morning, Bill. I want to talk about, like you say, buyer's remorse with President Obama. Me as a Latino, we feel like we've only been bought and just told that they're going to help us, and they haven't helped us. Like, he came out with an executive order like 6 months before his reelection. And what has he done the last year? He comes around and stabs us in the back with all these deportations and stuff. If Latinos come out, it's not going to be coming out just like for Democrats. It's going to be coming out against Trump, because we don't want Trump as president, So, because right here when they did the raids in Chicago, they didn't only go to the houses and do the raids. They actually were standing outside, pulling over cars and asking for licenses. And they're taking advantage of this stuff, and Latinos are very upset. And like Obama once said, Democrats can't win the presidency without the Latino vote, and they're doing a big way to stop Latinos from voting for them. So I think the Democrats should think about this stuff before they do these actions,
Yeah, Jose, what I hear from you, I hear from a lot of people in the community, and Matt, you have too, and not just in Iowa.
Well, I think Jose nails it. And, another one of the consequences, too, is, when I was in Iowa, there are rumors spreading around everywhere, right? So Jose's talking about people getting pulled over. And I'm sure there's a lot of rumors happening in the Latino community. People were saying, I saw an ICE official. Guy says, no, that was a guy from DirecTV. So there's a lot of worry there. Also, people aren't showing up to ESL classes across the state because they're worried that ICE is targeting them.
Yeah.
So it's a major concern, and it has a lot of fear in every way of life. Do you think people are going to show up to vote or even contribute to the economy if they're scared?
But, I have a whole chapter in my book, Buyer's Remorse, on immigration reform, where I quote a lot of Latino leaders who say, again, better than Trump, but, still very disappointed that in what they expected from President Obama and what he delivered on that line. So you followed Ted Cruz around. Now, I guess he's not as bad as Donald Trump. After all, his name is Cruz, right? Is he...
Yeah, I don't think so. He had our good friend Steve King was
about somebody who's
was on the trail with him. So if you guys don't know, you must know Steve King. He's the congressman from Iowa who once said that Latinos or Mexicans specifically have calves the size of cantaloupes because they're smuggling drugs across the border.
That they're carrying
calves
the
size of
right.
cantaloupes.
Yeah.
So he is Ted Cruz's immigration expert.
He's his guru. I mean, so Ted Cruz is a major get in Iowa Republican politics, and Cruz got him. So when I was following Ted Cruz, he's finishing up his 6-day bus tour where we went to 30 counties. I mean, so he was going to coffee shops, to restaurants, to whatever, all across. I was in Northeast Iowa that day. Small towns of 1,800 people, huge crowds turning out for him. And Steve King was standing right next to him. And Ted Cruz is really good at political theater. And he'd walk up to Steve King and grab him on the shoulder and said, "I was with this man shoulder to shoulder on immigration fights." And people would applaud like crazy. And when I would ask them afterward, like, what do you think? They loved it. They believe in Steve King and they believe in Ted Cruz. That's why I always thought Ted Cruz would be dangerous in Iowa. I thought he would do really well because he's good at that kind of politics. He has Steve King. And on immigration specifically, the way Cruz even described Steve King, he called him a knife wielder. And so he basically wielded Steve King like a knife on this debate across Iowa for 6 days.
I'm curious. I've heard this. Does Ted Cruz speak Spanish?
I don't know. I've never heard him speak Spanish.
I've heard that he does not.
Yeah, someone referenced the other day that he does. He's one of the people who does speak Spanish. But I've never heard it.
No.
At all. Yeah.
No.
I'm not sure he does.
Yeah, no, it's weird, but he really doesn't. I mean, he talks about his dad coming from Cuba, but other than that, it's a non-issue.
He speaks Canadian.
Hey.
That's what it is.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Matt, good work, and lots of luck at the Atlantic.
Thank you.
Okay, love the Atlantic, and thanks so much for coming in. We'll see you again soon.
All right, guys.
I'll be back to tell you what's up with the president today.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, how about it? Hour number 3. Are you ready? Remember, you can follow us right away on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Jump over there for live coverage. Otherwise, wait around until 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific on Free Speech TV to watch hour number 3. With Jake Tapper, the host of State of the Union on CNN, will be here to give us a little preview of this Sunday's show. And then White House reporter for Politico, Sarah Wheaton, will be here in studio with us to talk about the big meeting yesterday between President Obama and Bernie Sanders. Stay tuned. Hour number 3 coming up.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think. Once, a white girl was kidnapped, and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot, and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back, no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, again, Jake Tapper from CNN and Sarah Wheaton from Politico here with us in the next hour. President Obama, pretty busy schedule today. He and the Vice President get the daily briefing at 10 o'clock this morning. This afternoon, the President will hold an ambassador credentialing ceremony in the Oval Office where he swears in the new ambassadors from about a dozen and a half different countries. And then this evening, or this evening, he'll be going up to Baltimore, meeting with the House Democratic Issues Conference and delivering remarks up there. The Vice President will be up there late this morning at the same conference. And welcome back. Continue our conversation with the issues of the day with Jake Tapper from CNN.
This is the Bill Press Show.
right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet. Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Donald Trump versus Fox News. It looks like Donald Trump is winning. In fact, a couple of other candidates have now asked Donald Trump if they can join his show instead of the Fox debate. Yeah, Roger Ailes, I think you lost this round to Donald Trump. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we go on Thursday, January 28th. So good to see you today, and thank you for joining us. If you're listening on your local radio station or listening on TuneIn or iHeartRadio, we are there with you on the radio. And if you're watching on Free Speech TV or worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, we welcome you as well. And the big story, of course, is this continuing feud, which may have been resolved now for once and for all, looking more and more unlikely that Donald Trump is going to show up, since he has planned and announced a competing event just about a mile away at Drake University in Des Moines to raise money for the wounded warriors. Well, and some people are still saying, well, you know, he might still show up, right? What if they get the whole stage set and then Donald Trump walks in?
I've changed my mind.
They better have a podium.
I'm in.
You know what? If they're smart, they better have a podium backstage for him.
I am hoping for a helicopter entrance. I want something dramatic.
It could vary. I mean, look, Donald Trump makes good TV. We know this, right?
Yeah.
Like, if anybody's going to orchestrate a great dramatic entrance, it'll be Donald Trump.
They introduce the candidates, and then he sort of walks on stage and says, hey, can I join this crowd?
What about me?
Can I join this party?
What about me?
Whoa. Oh, man. I got to tell you, lots to talk about here with our team, Peter Egbaron and Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Hey
there.
Yes, indeed, with Ray Rogers on the phones for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Let us know what you think about the issues of the day. And Cyprian Bolding here, standing by. Not standing by. I always say on the job as our videographer, and doing a great job as always. Before we get into it, it is a somber anniversary today. 30 years ago, the explosion of the Challenger and the loss of 7 of our astronauts. watched by millions and millions and millions of people around the world, as well as here in the United States. Here's just a little bit from the launch, which had been delayed many times, but then seemed to be on track.
9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Cleared the tower. It was only 73 seconds later that Challenger exploded. And later that day, President Reagan gave what many people considered the most stirring, the most inspiring, and the most poetic words of his presidency, remembering the Challenger crew.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
What a line.
What a line, is right.
And, you know, the thing about this moment in American history, for as tragic as it was it was the first time that everybody watched this unfold live on TV, right? CNN was a thing. School kids watched it, right? All around the country, because you remember there was a school teacher on the spaceship, Krista McAuliffe, yeah. And so everybody was watching this thing live when it happened in the afternoon and saw the tragedy unfold.
Yeah. And it just reminded us of how important the space program is, but also, you know, how fragile it is and how risky it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing certain. I think of that every time you see one of those space shots. We got lots to talk about here in this hour together. Jake Tapper again from CNN will be joining us just a few minutes, host of State of the Union, and Sarah Wheaton covers the White House for Politico here in studio with us. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You know, the Barbie doll has been around for a long, long time, Bill. They still do, by the way, $1 billion in sales across 150 countries. And 92% of all American girls between the ages of 3 and 12 have owned a Barbie doll.
Really? Yeah.
But Barbie is about to get a bit of a change. Now, you could still get the regular Barbie doll that we all know sets unrealistic goals for young girls with the very thin waist and the buxom body, all of these, you know, beauty features that we've talked about for years and years and years. But they are about to unveil 3 new body types for Barbie. They're still going to be called Barbie dolls, but you can buy them in petite, tall, and curvy. The curvy Barbie doll, of course, is one making the biggest amount of noise here because she has larger thighs than the Barbie doll of history. She has a little bit of a protruding tummy and a bigger rear end and bigger curves, right? And so they're saying that this is just the realistic version of what, you know, because Barbie is like, you know, a mom. She's been around. She's, you know, she's a working woman, and this is just the reality for a lot of women. So they're saying they're going to do away with some of the unrealistic goals.
Good.
And give some more realistic goals. And I think that's a good. I mean, took them long enough, but it's a good move. It's a good move, and I hope a lot of people buy those.
Got to adapt with the times.
Yeah, man. Princeton, New Jersey, where a woman by the name of Sally Mabon and her young daughter opened up a bag of salad greens, right, that they had in their refrigerator, and they found a 3-inch lizard. Now, we should point out that the lizard was alive. He had survived in the refrigerator for days and days and days. He was cold and lifeless, but they got him sort of back up and running, and Faye, the little girl, took the critter to her school at Riverside Elementary School in Princeton, New Jersey, and he has become the mascot for the school. They've given him a little habitat.
That's great.
They give him green. So they ignore, you know, who knows what could have happened to this lizard, right?
That's right. So
but he survived, and he's doing just fine.
Check your greens carefully.
Yeah.
Right?
Might find a new pet.
All types.
Before you dig in.
You might find a new pet. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we said farewell to circuit.
Like anchovies on your
on
your Caesar salad?
Oh, God.
How about lizard?
Lizard, yeah, sure. You know, we said farewell to Circuit City back in 2009. They just went away. They couldn't keep up with the times. But if these two New York retail veterans, Albert Liniado and Ronnie Schmoll, have their way with it, they're going to bring Circuit City back. They bought the rights to the brand Circuit City from the firm Systemax, which acquired the rights to the brand during the bankruptcy auction all those years ago. And they say that they want to bring Circuit City back. They plan to build 50 to 100 corporate-owned retail stores by next year. And they think that they can bring the brand back.
That's a real challenge.
It's a big challenge.
I don't know why, but I miss Circuit City.
I do too.
I like this story.
I have to say, like, you know, if you go to like a Best Buy or some of the other, they're a little too sort of clinical, a little too cleaned up. There was some real nerdy stuff happening in Circuit City, for like in a good way.
All right. Well, maybe you'll get your wish, Peter.
Bring it back.
All right.
Bring it back.
There we go. Yes, indeed. As we've been discussing this morning, and the story keeps getting more and more kind of crazy. The top political story continues to be pre-caucus, this debate tonight scheduled for all the candidates from Fox until Donald Trump was making noises. I don't want Megyn. I hope Megyn Kelly's not there again because she wasn't fair to me, and I'm not sure I'd show up if she's going to be there. And then it took a great big leap, of course, when Fox News put out an email of its own. We read it to you word for word yesterday, basically making fun of Donald Trump and saying, oh, reportedly the Ayatollah and Vladimir Putin would like a meeting with the newly elected President Trump, but Donald Trump is, in effect, it said, wasn't sure he would go to the meeting because he was afraid of meeting with them, as if, okay, if he can't handle Megyn Kelly, how could he handle the Ayatollah or Vladimir Putin? We have learned this morning, it's been reported, that email was written by Roger Ailes himself. When Donald Trump saw it, he thought this was a personal attack on him. As Donald Trump said, I think correctly, you expect something like that from a political opponent or maybe from a commentator, but not from the network itself and the head of the network itself, at which point Donald Trump said, screw it, I'm not going to show up. You can have the debate without me and see what happens. We weren't sure yesterday when we talked about it who would win, who would lose this battle, but it looks like now Donald Trump is winning because he has said for sure, I'm not going. He's scheduled an alternative event tonight to raise money for wounded warriors. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, a couple of the other candidates. Carly Fiorina reportedly is one of them. We don't know who the other one is, although we suspect Mike Huckabee. Two candidates so far have asked him if they could join him at this event. Probably members of the JV debate. And last night, I thought the ultimate sort of humiliation for Fox is Bill O'Reilly has Donald Trump on and begs him to be on the show. Now, first of all, Donald Trump pointing out why his problem with Megyn Kelly and why he's not going to show up.
I was not treated well by Fox. They came out with this ridiculous PR statement. It was like drawn up by a child, and it was a taunt. And I said, how much of this do you take? I have zero respect for Megyn Kelly. I don't think she's very good at what she does. I think she's highly overrated.
Oh, man. And then Bill O'Reilly went on. Basically, if we can, that third clip there, Jamie, where he says, apparently O'Reilly had bought Trump some milkshakes in the past, and now he says, you don't owe me any milkshakes if you please come on the debate tomorrow night.
So weird.
Think about it. Say, look, I might come back. Forgive, go forward, answer the questions, look out for the folks. Just want you to consider it. You owe me milkshakes. I'll take them off the ledger if you consider it.
Yeah. Please, 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 please. That's humiliating.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah. And Donald Trump said, no way. Jake Tapper, host of State of the Union and The Lead on CNN, joins us when we come back here on The Bill Press Show.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
He is one of the hardest working and one of the best anchors in the business. You see him every day on CNN on The Lead at 4 o'clock and on Sunday mornings, State of the Union at 9 and repeated again at 12 noon. Of course, we're talking about Jake Tapper, otherwise known here at The Bill Press Show as just the father of Alice.
That's right.
Jake Tapper joining us on our news line this morning. Hi, Jake. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Thank you. So let us know, is CNN going to cover the Donald Trump extravaganza tonight?
The last I heard, we weren't planning any changes in our coverage. I don't know what that means exactly. We regularly do cover campaign rallies of politicians, so I don't know what that means exactly. But I don't think there's any plan to take it as a special or anything like that. But who knows?
What is your read, Jake, on this battle between Donald Trump and Fox News, a.k.a. Roger Ailes? Who comes out on top?
That's a tough thing to game out right now. They have an interesting relationship. Sometimes adversarial, sometimes symbiotic. I do think that at the end of the day, probably the ratings will be a little worse, or for whatever reason. But hold on one second. I'm sorry.
Sure.
But at the end, but in addition to that, I think it's the question does this hurt Trump with his supporters? And I haven't seen any evidence that he can do anything that hurts him with his supporters.
I agree. Right.
I don't know what would hurt him.
I don't think he was wrong the other day when he said he could shoot people on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose support.
Right. The people, we talked about this Sunday a little bit, right? The people supporting him are not supporting him because of his stand on any one issue, right? They're supporting him for who he is. And in a sense, his defiance of Fox News plays right into that image, right? Of somebody will take anybody on.
Yeah. No, that's what I think.
Right.
And I think I don't think that I don't think Fox did itself any favors with the statement they put out Tuesday night, where they were mocking Trump.
Yeah.
Because that certainly meant there was no high road. You know what I mean? They took it away.
Right.
Bill, I got to run. I'm really sorry. I'm blocking traffic because I'm stuck on ice.
Oh, all right, Jake. We will see you Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us. Okay. And we'll look for another good show there for State of the Union. Jake Tapper from CNN, blocking traffic.
It's dangerous out there, man.
No, it is a problem. I went over to Georgetown last night, and you can get across town. The streets, for the most part, are paved. And I'm sure I know exactly what happened with Jake. He's in his car. You can tell that. And you don't have two lanes where you normally had two lanes, right? You've got one lane because you got too much snow on the side, and so.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, because this is a real deal problem in Washington D.C. You've dug your car out now, right?
Yes.
If you were to leave and you were to come back and somebody else was in your car, what do you do? Is that fair game? Are you okay with that? Is that just the rules of how it goes, or is there some sort of honor code among you dig it, you keep it?
There is no honor code. There should be, and it would really piss me off if I dug out my car. But that's what happened. People are vultures, right? And they're looking for those spots like that.
And you can't save it.
No. So right now, as I think most people know, I live close enough to the studio. I have a pretty easy walk in the morning. And so I don't need my car. I haven't used the car all week. Got to go to Wilmington, Delaware to do my teaching assignment tomorrow.
Oh, man.
5 classes. So I'm going to need the car. So I dug out the car with a little help, by the way, from a couple of guys.
Sure, yeah, I don't blame you for that.
Mm-hmm. But I haven't moved the car because I know if I were to move the car, I would lose that spot. But it's dug out. It's kind of ready to go. But a couple of years ago, when we worked at a radio station that was, when I first came to Washington, I worked at a radio station. You ended up working at the same radio station.
Ah, yes.
All the way the hell across town.
Yeah.
To drive there. Storm like this, dug everything out, and so there were a couple of orange cones like in the neighborhood. I got those orange cones, and I moved my car and I put the cones down, and that worked the first day. And then the second day, somebody else came along and saw those cones and said, "What the hell is this? This doesn't mean anything." Got out, moved the cones, and parked in front of the house. What can I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you can't save those spaces with those cones or things like that.
So we hope to do a weekly hit with Jake. We didn't get into what he's going to have on the show this weekend, but it will be a great show as always. You know what they say: if it's Sunday, it's State of the Union. with Jake Tapper, I was on the show last Sunday, not this Sunday, but tune in for Jake and come back with Sarah Wheaton from Politico.
This is the Bill Press Show.
me at the kitchen table, my mother smiles over red wine that she drinks out of a measuring glass. She says she doesn't deprive herself, but I've learned to find nuance in every movement of her fork, in every crinkle in her brow as she offers me the uneaten pieces on her plate. I've realized she only eats dinner when I suggest it. I wonder what she does when I'm not there to do so. Maybe this is why my house feels bigger each time I return. It's proportional. As she shrinks, the space around her seems increasingly vast. She wanes while my father waxes. His stomach has grown round with wine, late nights, oysters, poetry, a new girlfriend who was overweight as a teenager, but my dad reports now she's crazy about fruit. It was the same with his parents. As my grandmother became frail and angular, her husband swelled to red, round cheeks, rotund stomach, and I wonder if my lineage is one of women shrinking, making space for the entrance of men into their lives, not knowing how to fill it back up once they leave. I have been taught accommodation. My brother never thinks before he speaks. I have been taught to filter. How can anyone have a relationship to food, he asks, laughing, as I eat the black bean soup I chose for its lack of carbs. I want to say we come from difference, Jonas. You have been taught to grow out. I have been taught to grow in. You learn from our father how to emit, how to produce, to roll each thought off your tongue with confidence. You used to lose your voice every other week from shouting so much. I learned to absorb. I took lessons from our mother in creating space around myself. I learned to read the knots in her forehead while the guys went out for oysters. And I never meant to replicate her, but spend enough time sitting across from someone and you pick up their habits. That's why women in my family have been shrinking for decades. We all learned it from each other, the way each generation taught the next how to knit, weaving silence in between the threads, which I can still feel as I walk through this ever-growing house. Skin itching, picking up all the habits my mother has unwittingly dropped, like bits of crumpled paper from her pocket on her countless trips, from bedroom to kitchen to bedroom again. Nights I hear her creep down to eat plain yogurt in the dark, a fugitive stealing calories to which she does not feel entitled. Deciding how many bites is too many, how much space she deserves to occupy. Watching the struggle, I either mimic or hate her, and I don't want to do either anymore, but the burden of this house has followed me across the country. I asked 5 questions in genetics class today, and all of them started with the word sorry. I don't know the capstone requirements. I don't know the capstone requirements for the sociology major because I spent the whole meeting deciding whether or not I could have another piece of pizza. A circular obsession I never wanted, but inheritance is accidental. Still staring at me with wine-soaked lips from across the kitchen table.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour of The Bill Press Show from Washington, D.C. We're reaching out to you on the radio and on television. And we are brought to you today in part by Amalgamated Bank. Yeah, when you hear the phrase a bank and progressive values, it sounds like the two don't belong in the same sentence, right? No, that's wrong, because actually for nearly a century, Amalgamated's been the first choice bank of progressive organizations and individuals nationwide. Check it out at amalgamatedbank.com. You know the way it is today. Anywhere in the country today, you can do your banking because very few people actually walk into a brick and mortar bank. You can do all your banking online at Amalgamated and be a proud progressive at the same time, amalgamatedbank.com. We're back in business at the White House. All the snow plowed. Briefing yesterday and another one today. President Obama with a full scale of meetings, including an ambassador credentialing ceremony today at the White House. Sarah Wheaton is on the beat at the White House for Politico and joins us here in studio. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Bill.
Yeah, they shut down 2 days, no briefings, huh? It was sort of like...
No briefings, but they were hard at work at the White House. They wanted us to know. They can all kind of work from home with their secure laptops, and nice for Josh Earnest to get his day off on Friday, which was his birthday.
His birthday, right. So the president, when there are snow days, he's not just sitting by the fire watching old movies or anything, huh?
No. They say he still has briefings with, his security staff, and even though the government was closed on Tuesday, he did still manage to make it out to the Bethesda Walter Reed Medical Center to visit with wounded.
Plus, he lives over the store.
Exactly.
So
he doesn't have to shovel so much to get out.
He can get to the Oval Office without going outside.
Exactly.
Down that colonnade, but I'm sure
it's covered.
That's covered. Yeah, that's no problem. Right. Yeah.
And I guess when you have to go to Bethesda, you don't have to deal with the traffic and ice the way that we do, right? Like, you just pretty much get the whole road.
It's called Marine One.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right.
Yeah, and they had a path shoveled out from the Oval Office to Marine One. He laughed at the reporters about, I shoveled all of the snow. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm pretty convenient.
People who died from heart attacks really,
yeah, right.
appreciated that joke. But
so yesterday, I was there, Sarah, for all the big excitement when the president met with Bernie Sanders one-on-one. Even though Bernie's wife, Jane, was with him, she did not sit in on that meeting, nor did his press secretary, Michael Briggs, who was there. Just the president and Senator Sanders, and then Senator Sanders came out to tell reporters about it. Jamie, we have a little. Let's Bernie start out by saying we just had a good discussion of the issues.
It was just a discussion to just get myself updated on some of the current issues facing this country, how we most effectively deal with ISIS, his assessment about Iran.
And Bernie said they talked a little politics at the same time. Why this meeting, Sarah?
Well, the president, in an interview actually with one of my colleagues, Glenn Thrush, that aired on a podcast on Monday, gave a lot of praise to Hillary Clinton, talking about how well prepared she is, how smart she is.
She can start governing from day one.
Exactly. Meanwhile, he kind of said, well, Bernie needs to understand that when you're president, you can't just focus on one thing. So your income inequality thing is nice, but you're going to have a broader view.
And
not
people
his words,
tend to go for the bright, shiny object.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He rejected comparisons between Obama in 2008 and Bernie in 2016. And people not unreasonably viewed this as the president kind of saying wink, wink, nudge,
showing
nudge.
His hand. Yeah.
I want to see Hillary in there. And the White House did not want that perception. And so they were like, oh, we've been planning this meeting with Bernie for months. And here he, this is when it worked out for him to come. The reality is it doesn't really make a lot of sense that Bernie would have chosen to meet with the president in Washington less than a week before the Iowa caucus. Mm-hmm. So in some ways, it hit Bernie two times. There was the quasi-Hillary endorsement on Monday, and then taking Bernie off the trail yesterday for him to have to come to Washington for this meeting with the president.
But he still it was good for him, though, to be in that scene, to be with the president, to be... all the video this morning, we played clips of Bernie standing in front of the West Wing. Again, I was there with the reporters yesterday. So, he got some good out of it, too, I think.
Absolutely. Hillary and Bernie have both been hugging Obama very close in Iowa. I saw a statistic that 91% of Iowa Democrats have a favorable view of Obama. He's still the most popular Democrat in the country among Democrats. And so either way, Bernie wanted to show that he and the president are close. But the reality is that they just didn't really have that much of a relationship when Obama was in the Senate or during his presidency.
And Josh went out of his way afterwards to say, yes, we are neutral in this race. Now we've met with both candidates and made the best person win.
Exactly. They're saying Obama will vote in the Illinois primary, but it's unclear if they will say who he voted for or issue any sort of endorsement.
Now, there was a difference, and your colleague Edward Isaac DeVere pointed this out in his story this morning about the Bernie meeting. there's a difference between the way the White House handled the meeting with Bernie Sanders and then the several meetings that the president has had with Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. The White House announced in advance that Bernie was going to be there. That allowed the media to come, and you saw people standing on the road near the White House, like watching as Bernie's car drove up to the side of the West Wing, and it was full paparazzi mode for us. Bernie came out and gave remarks to the press, whereas when Secretary Clinton comes, they don't announce it in advance. They might announce it like, a few hours ago the president met with her, or even a few days ago, weeks ago. Yeah. She never comes out to talk to us. So, I mean, again, she was part of his administration. It makes sense, even if she weren't running for president, that they would still be meeting. But this definitely was as much about optics for the White House as it was for Senator Sanders, as far as showing, look at how neutral we are. Look, he's meeting with Bernie.
Yeah. No, a couple of times in the briefings where Hillary's name has come up, and Jeff would say, by the way, they had lunch yesterday or something like that. And we would all go, what? We didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Very frustrating for us.
And this meeting went on for 45 minutes, too. So they gave you a good chunk of time. Before we move on to other issues, let's say hello to Claire out in the great city of Madison, Wisconsin on 92.1 The Mic. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Bill. Good morning.
Good morning. You have a question or a comment?
I just think that was brilliant of Bernie, strategically and for practical reasons, for him to meet with President Obama. Some people say he might not have the chops in the international security area, and I'm sure he got some valid feedback from President Obama yesterday.
And he mentioned in his comments to us reporters outside the White House that they had talked foreign policy, right? They talked about ISIS. They talked about the best strategy, right? And in dealing with ISIS, right? So it did, it gave him a lift. I think for sure. I think it was a smart move on, as you have said, Sarah, on the part of the White House and on the part of the Sanders campaign. And of course, if he was in Minnesota, I guess, I'm sure he wanted his plans were to go right back to Iowa. But when you get a call from the White House saying the president would like some quality time with you, you know what you do? You get on a plane.
I mean, maybe Donald Trump would reject such an invitation, but certainly not Bernie Sanders.
Donald Trump is the only one who could reject such an invitation.
But we would all know that he had rejected it. It wouldn't be like a quiet, I respectfully decline.
So, by the way, just it's sort of as an aside, what is the strategy on ISIS? What is going on? Why don't we hear about it anymore? I mean, we haven't talked about, even in the briefing, there haven't been many questions about Syria or ISIS, and yet every day we continue these bombing missions against ISIS. Are we making any progress? What do you pick up?
It is unclear. The White House has said that this is not going to be something that they finish during the president's administration.
They've admitted that.
Right now, there is this political negotiation process happening in Vienna. The Russians are involved. The Iranians are involved. And there is an effort to get sort of a political agreement that would maybe transition Assad out eventually. But the administration does appear to have at least unofficially backed away from their Assad must go position, and that is actually causing some frustration among some of the moderate rebels that we had once hoped to work with in the region.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, right, the word from the White House was nothing happens till Assad's gone. Nothing. The first thing that's got to happen is Assad's got to go. Well, here we are 4 years later. Assad's still there, and we don't hear that line that much anymore. Now we got to defeat and destroy ISIS, and which takes, it's not that they're contradictory, right? But it does take the focus off Assad. It's almost as if we've accepted the fact that he is there to stay, at least in the short term, right?
Right, and the administration has said that sort of the political vacuum in the region, in both Iraq and in Syria, is what allowed ISIS to spread. And so we sort of are in this chicken and egg situation, because they say, well, we've got to get a better political structure in Iraq first, and we've got to get rid of Assad first. But at the same time, ISIS is there blowing things up. So even if their strategy is pretty much the same from sort of a private behind the scenes standpoint, their rhetoric has really had to change to be more about ISIS.
And some news from the White House this morning on the cancer front. We'll get into that with Sarah Wheaton when we come back. Again, all questions or comments welcome anytime at 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory towards students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV, this is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, Thursday, January 28. Please, Donald, please come to our debate tonight. That's what Bill O'Reilly was asking Donald Trump last night, and Donald Trump, in effect, said, nope, I don't need your stinking debate. I'm going to have my own event tonight. Sarah Wheaton here from the White House, covering the White House for Politico. It was funny yesterday. Josh Earnest was asked what the president might think about that Donald Trump skipping the debate, right? And Josh couldn't help but poke a little fun at Mr. Trump.
The president himself noted that he was not a big fan of participating in presidential debates, but he never backed out of a debate 2 days before it was scheduled to be held.
Whack, whack, whack.
They are loving this at the White House.
Oh, they gotta be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, they're disgusted by the possibility that this is who potentially could follow the transformational President Barack Obama. But while they can, kind of use them as a punching bag, they're happy to do that.
Right. Now, sort of an awkward shift of gears, but the White House has made a little announcement today. Something coming up, another executive order.
Right. Well, the New York Times reported this morning that the president will be signing an executive order, creating a task force to kind of officially create the Biden moonshot to cure cancer. And so it will be headed by Biden. It will have it'll be kind of a group with people from various different federal agencies that deal with science and technology and health working together. And the whole moonshot terminology, though, has actually been causing a little bit of awkwardness for Biden and for the White House because the reality is that nobody really thinks that even with a similar effort to the moon mission, you're not going to have a result that's the equivalent of one man walking on the moon. There is no single cure for cancer. Our understanding now is that every cancer is kind of its own unique genetic thing, and so the goal is to find lots of different cures for lots of different cancers. And the Biden effort has potential to make real progress, people say, but it's not going to be like, oh, we're going to work really hard for 10 years and then nobody's ever going to die of cancer again. So they are kind of figuring out how to navigate that. Biden has said, perhaps more realistically, that the goal is to make 5 years worth of progress or 10 years worth of progress in 5 years' time by doing a better job of coordinating different types of research and financing.
Well, not to be a cynic, but on the other hand, if you're not a cynic, you shouldn't live in Washington. Right. But isn't this sort of the classic government approach to a problem as appoint a task force? And how many task forces have we had on cancer?
I have not counted, but in
a lot
defense,
of them for a long time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
In defense of the government, the research community doesn't always play really nice with each other. And,
true.
So now there's actually this concern going around about parasitic research. And what that means is that some researchers are saying, oh, well, you're taking our data and doing your own stuff with it and you're like stealing our research. But if we're actually going to make progress on cancer, then we can't have people duplicating research that somebody else has already done. People have to be able to build on one another. And so Biden is actually trying to encourage this parasitic research.
Okay, well, I don't know whether you know, but I'm a native of Delaware. I mean, Californian, but grew up in Delaware. And so I'm the head of the Joe Biden fan club, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's tremendous. He's a great vice president. He's the whole auto industry thing, the stimulus thing. I mean, everything that Barack Obama has given Joe Biden to do, he's delivered on, right?
But well, not the gun effort, but
not the gun effort, but yeah, true. He did his job. I think we just couldn't Congress get along. Good point. But to ask him to cure cancer in the last year of his administration, waited a long time, and it's really an impossible. That's why when he said the moonshot thing, I thought, don't set up the expectations that by the time you leave office, we're going to have cured cancer. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost sort of being, and that was Biden's term, not really the president's, but the president has adopted it as well. I think out of some deference and recognition of how important this is to Joe Biden. His son Beau, after all, sadly died of brain cancer in the last year, and but yeah, it's really setting Biden up to look like he failed, even if he does actually really move the ball forward on cancer research.
Right. It's so important. I mean, you don't want to throw cold water on it. It's just a huge, huge challenge. At the same time, whatever effort that they can expend toward that goal will be time and money well spent.
Right. They have, although Obama's not going to be putting more money into cancer research with this executive order.
And the other thing, unless he changes his mind and runs for president, Joe Biden, after he's left the White House, will have time on his hands, and there'd be probably nothing better that he can put his attention to.
And he has said he's going to stick with this for the rest of his life.
All right. At 12:30 today, briefing down at the White House. Sarah Wheaton, we'll let you go, and we'll see you again a little bit later. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you. I'll be back with today's parting shot.
your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, think about it this way. What if you went out to on Christmas Eve to visit the local nativity scene when you noticed something very important was missing? The baby Jesus was missing. Well, that's what it's going to feel like tonight if you tune into the GOP debate. Everybody's going to be there except Donald Trump. Everybody's going to be asking, where's the guy we came to see? Where's the baby Jesus? Somehow it just won't feel the same without the main attraction. Now, is Donald Trump making a big mistake? Hell yes. It makes him look weak. Is he doing the right thing? Hell no. Candidates should not be allowed to dictate their questioners. But will it make any difference? Hell no again. Look, his supporters, Trump supporters, will stick with him. Yes, even if he shot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and yes, even if he dares take on the mighty Fox News. That's the way it is. That's my parting shot for today. Hey, folks, have a great Thursday, and then come back for a very special treat tomorrow when Peter Ogburn sits in as a friend.
The Peter Ogburn special.
But don't forget, I'll come back to rescue the show on Monday.
This is the Bill Press Show.